now that I've awakened that memory. So I've been told that the day I start pinning my mic to random objects, namely daggers, is the day I become a real YouTuber. This only makes me feel a tiny bit inadequate. Over a year ago now, I started my first ever real project. Throughout the making of this project, my ADHD fixation died out. It has been sat in a drawer for 14 months, and today is the day that I finally resurrected my own personal design of a live-action Snow White. And I feel the need to resurrect this because the more and more I keep seeing and hearing stuff about this, let's say not great looking live action, the more and more I hate that dress. It's so bad. And I'm not saying that mine is going to be fantastic by any means, but at the same time, I think I've pegged why I don't like this design so much. I think it's the colours, because this is the worst shade of yellow, blue and red all in one single design. The only thing I actually do like about it is the sleeve construction. As a real resurrecting a very dead, but now soon to be alive project, it has already been partway made. I made the skirt and I was working on the bodice, and my brain was just like, ooh, other shiny things. Ironically, the other shiny thing that distracted my brain was another project, and then once again, my brain just lost interest in it, and that's actually sitting in another drawer. My personal inspirations for my Snow White design was somewhere between some classic animation inspiration with a whole lot of mirror inspiration, because that is without a doubt the best Snow White live action there ever has been or ever will be, clearly. The Once Upon a Time bunch are up there, but I think arguably Regina steals the show. So if we're just talking Snow Whites, the mirror designs clearly outweigh whatever this thing was. No hate to Once Upon a Time Snow White. I absolutely freaking love Mary Margaret, but the wedding dress was questionable, let's be honest. Getting so distracted. I need to try on the skirt, which I am greatly putting off because I made it over a year ago and I'm very concerned it won't fit me anymore. Oh, I almost forgot to mention, I also took a lot of inspiration from Nikita Cosplay because one, she is awesome. Two, she made a book called Self-Made Princess, which I have a copy of and I absolutely freaking love it. One of the things that she teaches you how to do is how to make a Snow White cosplay. I actually used this book as my template and then just added my own design elements. I actually have it on the shelf. Everything I know about sewing has pretty much come from this one singular book. In terms of the Nikita Cosplay influence would be the historical side of the dress. If memory serves, the skirt in its construction had some, I want to say, 18th century? Don't quote me on that. Her interpretation of the iconic dress was inspired by the Renaissance period and has a lot of elements, including the rectangle skirt, puff sleeves, and corset. Off the top of my head, I could not tell you when the Renaissance period was. First things first, let's try on the skirt. This on? Yes. A little bit of a tight squeeze to get a shot. Usually I wouldn't really show this kind of full try on until the actual reveal, but again, considering I'm already 60% of the way through this project, actually that's a bit generous, 40% of the way through this project, figured I'll at least show you what the skirt looks like. As it is somewhat historically inspired, one of the first things to go on is the bum pad. With my bum pad secure and in place, I then have 3 layers of skirt to put on. History is made of layers. I absolutely love this fabric. I just feel like it creates such a nice Snow Whitey palette. I figured this would be a good point in the video to dig up some of my old footage from when I was originally making the skirt. As you can see, making all 3 layers of this took up a lot of space in the living room. All of these skirt layers are absolutely huge, far bigger than they look. I also found it kind of funny to find out during my edit that the dress I was wearing for trying on the skirts was the exact same dress I wore exactly a year ago when I tried on the skirts for the very first time. Completely by coincidence. And these are the last sort of clips I have from back then of just hemming the skirts and starting to actually cut out the bodice. And this was before I even made the 3rd layer, so I was just trying to figure out the concept of what it would actually turn out like. Thank you for joining me on this trip down memory lane. Let's get back to it. I was right, the top layer is a smidge tight, so I might extend the strap on it or something just so I don't have to have it burned quite so tight on my waist, but technically I can put it on, so should we take a look at the bodice? I do not recommend trying to move your camera and light in a very tight space when wearing a big poofy butt dress. Bodice. I got the basic panels in and decided I wanted to do embroidery detail on the front, which is where my attention got lost. So it is just a rough bodice. Currently doesn't have any lining or sleeves or finished embroidery or anything to actually make it look good, really, but I'm going to show you anyway. Still got loads of pins in it, in case you couldn't tell from me stabbing myself. It literally still has the embroidery thread hanging from it. I don't even know if you can make out the embroidery. There's like a tiny little bit there, and then like a tiny little bit down here. The idea was that it wasn't supposed to stand out. It was supposed to just be like this nice little subtle bit of texture that the costume just had this detail if you looked up close, but not necessarily what you could see from a distance. The very first thing that we need to do is we need to figure out this subtle embroidery on the bodice. I have already started it, as I mentioned. Our main issue being that I do remember this. I had this swirly design and there were some birds and some leaves and it was all very Snow White inspired, and I traced it out in chalk on the bodice. Issue being that was over a year ago and the chalk has now completely faded, so I'm gonna have to like recreate or at least make a new one using what's already been embroidered. So that's task 1. And then task 2 is to embroider that, which is gonna take a while. Once all that is done, I'm then gonna move on to the sleeves. Let the resurrection begin! Taking what I'd already embroidered, I figured out a rough design that would at least look decent. I honestly couldn't remember what the original design was for the life of me, so I figured I'd just keep it simple and just complete what was already there. The embroidery actually did turn out pretty good, but it was very, very time consuming. Good morning. We are on day 2. Well, I mean, if we count the past year of neglecting this project, it's like day 400 and something. On this very fine autumn morning, we will be tackling sleeves. You may be wondering, hey Soph, the embroidery you were working on yesterday, how's that going? I got bored, I'm taking a break. We're making sleeves today. So the basic concept of what I want to do is I want the shoulder area to be that classic Snow White poof, and I'm going to do that with some of this gorgeous burgundy velvety fabric, and to do the ribbony stripe thing, I'm not sure what it's called, but you always see it in historical things and in plays. For the bottom half of the sleeve, I'm going to be using the same blue silk as I did for the mane of the bodice, and I will be attempting to construct a sleeve out of that which has a diamondy crisscross pearl pattern embroidered into it. That's all a lot. I don't know how far into that I will actually get today. To start with, I need to actually cut out my pattern pieces, and then I need to unbury my blue silk, which is somewhere. I'll find it. I did give myself a quick refresh on the instructions as it had been so long. I then got out the patterns that actually came with the book and located the ones I'd need for the puff sleeve and then the longer bottom half too. For the puff section of the sleeve, I decided that I wanted it to be quite a longer poof, so I just trimmed off the bottom little section of the pattern and extended it so that way I'd have a longer poof to cut out. Cutting the velvet created so much mess that I did have to stop and completely hoover the entire studio because it went absolutely everywhere, and I did not want to risk that clinging to everything for the rest of time. Once I cut out all the pieces, I laid them both on the table and started to actually place the embellishments on just so I could get an idea of how it would all look coming together. This also helps me figure out the specific placement of things and just really solidifies that I'm on the right tracks and it will look somewhat decent when it's finished. I find this trick really helps me stay motivated and stops me getting distracted by other projects. I do think I actually like the size of the diamonds that I've created, so I think I'm going to measure that and take note. They're roughly 3 inches across the board. See how it looks a little bit smaller. Yeah, I feel like 2.5 inches is better than 3, so I'm gonna go with 2.5. God, I've got no focus today. I need a ruler. If you want diamonds that are 2.5 inches apart, or not apart, you know what I mean. How would you go about drawing those lines? And to know what you're doing, one day you might actually know what you're doing. I am massively overthinking this, but I don't know.
Eventually my brain actually did switch on and I managed to get all the diamonds drawn out.
I've drawn my chalk diamonds on one of the sleeves and it turned out pretty damn well. I just need to do it on the other one. I have stitched in 2 lines on one sleeve. It has taken a fair while and my back kind of hurts sitting here, so I'm going to move it down to the sofa and just slowly plod on with the stitching there. The light has gone, the rain is messing with my audio, and my mic also died, so I think it's a pretty safe point to just leave the filming for today, I think. I will see you all tomorrow.
Please excuse the absolutely awful phone footage that is about to follow. I just wanted to show you some of the progress shots of getting the sleeves done and stitching well into the wee hours of the night. The next morning I decided to be good and actually continue the embroidery on the front to get it finished, but again I filmed it on my phone and the footage is really very quite bad. But as you can see, my labours were worth it because the results turned out really far better than I expected them to. I decided to lay everything out on the table together again so that I could re-motivate myself for the next day.
Welcome to day 3,000,004,000,004. The embroidery has taken me a while. I now have a table full of embellished individual pieces, which today, hopefully, I will be assembling into an actual completed bodice. Or at least that's how it will look through the power of editing. I love them, actually. I've been hand stitching for days on end, and it's weirdly making me reluctant to actually get the sewing machine out. I'm in the mindset of hand stitching. I'm even sat here thinking I could just hand stitch the shawl. It's gonna take forever. I'm not doing that. The last time I was actually machining on this bodice was actually the first time I had ever used this machine. I've come a long way since. Turn it on. That helps. Just bragging about how I've come a long way.
After sewing the shoulder seams, I finally added the lining that I had also pre-made over a year ago, and in doing so created the last 2 boning channels on the back.
Lining is pinned in place. The next stage is a whole lot of hand stitching, which is going to take a while to say the least. So I'm going to do that tonight with a film on, and I'm going to move on to the sleeves just because it pleases my brain and helps to motivate me going forward. I always like to just start laying things out so I can kind of just start to see how it's going to look when it comes together. At this point, I am very excited to assemble the sleeves and actually get the whole thing together. I feel like the book's really heavy and I don't want to break all my pearls. Have I shown you the actual front cover of this yet? Like I could ever aspire to greatness like this. In the back of it, you can see the full dress as well. This isn't the only cosplay in the book, but these are the covers, and she's the reason that I am making a Snow White cosplay, hands down. As I've just shown you, in her Snow White, she did short sleeves, but as I've decided to go for long ones, I think I'm gonna have to combine the instructions of the short poof sleeve and then the sleeves that she's got for Ariel. As you can see, the longer ones. I've got my really big poof sleeve panels, and the first thing I need to do is pin and sew the sides of these. I've never machined velvet before and I'm kind of scared. It's supposed to be one of those fabrics from hell, so it'd be nice to make wheels. The #1 law of the universe is never iron velvet, so obviously I'm not going to press the poofs, plus they're poofy and it'll be fine. And as for the sleeves, there are pearl beads inside it, so I'm kind of just, if I try and press this seam, I'm just going to melt the beads, and I obviously don't want to do that, so I guess I have a legitimate reason to not. When I'm gone, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. God, I reckon I do remember that cup song, you know. Was that anyone else's high school experience? Just sitting around at tables or on the floor or whatever, using water bottles, using pencil cases, whatever the hell you had, even just your hands if you didn't have anything, and you'd do the cup song. Big circuit. God, that was great. My brain won't let it go. Do I remember this? I remember what to do if you don't have anything, because that's like... No, wait. Wait, is it twist first or is it move first? No. I keep automatically going to do it without the cuff. That's not smooth at all. That doesn't feel right. I'm gonna have to look it up. Let's do this. I'm gonna do it on the velvet so it's quieter. If only I had friends to sit in a circle and do it with. Tell you what, if anyone's going to Birmingham Comic Con this year, I will be there on Friday. Join me, we'll sit in a circle and we will do the cup song together. Okay, no more distractions. In terms of the length of these, I'm gonna cut them longer than I need them for obvious reasons. Cut out all of my strips to go on the sleeves. I have to admit, I have been debating whether or not to back these onto some of the blue silk because the back is really ugly. Not to mention fraying a lot. Like a lot actually. Damn, I'm gonna have to. Oh, it's gonna take so much more work. But it'll be better in the long run. Oh. Here's what's gonna happen. I am gonna back all of these with the same blue silk that I've used on the bodice and the sleeves.
And it took me forever. As much as I wasn't happy to back all of the strips with silk, it did look so much better than it had originally. It was worth the time. With all of the individual components ready, it was finally time for me to actually start assembling all the sleeves together, which involved a lot of tiny micro steps that were a lot harder than they looked in the instructions and gave me frequent headaches. keep trying to attach the sleeves and it keeps not working, and I keep getting up and walking away from it because it's stressing me out. I am giving myself an hour to sit down and focus and see how far I get, and then when the hour's up, I'm allowed to go cry in a corner and not look at it for another while. I've been trying to like pin and position the poof in place on the bodice, but it is proving to be very, very hard. And that's roughly what it's looking like. You know, I think it's gonna be alright, I just attaching it is proving to be a nightmare. So I'm gonna shut up and get on with it now. Sleeves are finally attached. The hardest thing I've ever had to do. It was a nightmare. I'm just getting ready to put the boning in. I cut all the pieces out and I had them flattened underneath some very, very heavy books for a good long while, and it's done nothing. They're still completely curled, so I'm gonna have a curly corset, I guess. I'm just gonna put a little bit of tape on all the ends so that it doesn't end up piercing the fabric over time. Seriously though, I did literally end up having a curly corset. So if anyone knows how to flatten boning, especially once it's already sewn inside a garment, I would greatly appreciate some tips on that particular subject.
Show off your Lego ones again.
I've got to say, it feels pretty weird to finally have this dress finished after starting it over a year ago. It's insane that it's now complete and I can finally actually use it. I love it so much. This dress has been something else for me. It is the first thing I ever started sewing, and I'm kind of really glad I took a year to actually finish it, because I learned so many new skills in making my other projects that when it came to finishing this one, I feel like the results I got were so much better than what it would have been if I'd just finished it a year ago, and I'm so proud of how it's turned out. It is the first project I've ever made where I do not have any faults to give. I love everything about it, and I have nothing negative to say. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe to see more of my projects. I appreciate all of your likes and comments, and I will see you in my next video. This week, bum pad don't quit. I'm procrastinating yet again. This thread isn't long enough. I'll have to pull it tighter.
Can we make this our last one then go home? It's really cold. Well, yeah.
I'm gonna edit it all out. Cause it's really annoying.